There's a clinic in South Africa where the lights are on, but the system isn't working. The waiting room is full, the nurse is on duty, the building is open, but the oxygen machine has been broken for months, and the post for the senior technician, the person who would be responsible for keeping critical equipment running, has been vacant for over 2 years. Not because there's no budget or there aren't any qualified candidates, but simply because the appointment never stabilized. The position has been acting, then re-advertised, then contested. This is not an isolated story. For years, South Africa's Auditor General has warned about long-term vacancies in senior technical and management posts, especially in health, municipalities, and infrastructure. The posts are left unfilled. Officials are placed in acting roles for years at a time. An instability which is caused by political interference in who gets appointed and who doesn't. On paper, these are administrative failures, but in real life, they mean equipment that isn't maintained, services that don't function, and ordinary people waiting in these rooms, hoping the system holds. Today, we're starting a series that looks at elections, power, and accountability, not through party slogans or campaign promises, but rather through real-world consequences. Because long before any of those election posters go up, and long before our votes are cast, decisions are already being made about who runs our hospitals, about who manages our water, and who is trusted to keep essential services alive. And when those decisions are made for the wrong reasons, people pay for it, quietly and often invisibly. This episode asks a simple but maybe uncomfortable question. What happens when loyalty matters more than competence in public service appointments? Now, not in theory and not in politics speak, but literally in real life. So what exactly are political appointments? Let's slow down for a moment. So political appointments are not inherently bad, right? Every democracy has them. Elected leaders need trusted people to help implement policy. Now, that's normal. The problem begins when appointments are based primarily on political loyalty rather than skills, experience, or institutional knowledge, and when failure carries no real consequences. Now, in South Africa, this often shows up as cadre deployment, long-term acting positions, senior managers without sector-specific expertise. On paper, the system looks functional, but in practice, it's actually very fragile. Now, here's something we don't say enough. Public services rarely collapse overnight. They actually erode. One delayed appointment becomes an unsigned maintenance contract. One budget that is not implemented. One procurement decision that's postponed. Multiply that across hospitals, municipalities, schools, infrastructure departments, and suddenly the system doesn't break. It exhausts itself. Professionals will burn out. Communities will adapt. Failure then starts to become a very normal thing, an everyday part of our lives type of thing. And when we look at the human cost angle, when, for instance, a hospital administrator doesn't know how supply chains work, medicine will most probably run out. When a municipal manager doesn't understand infrastructure planning, water systems will probably fail. And when a school principal is appointed without any leadership experience, teachers will leave and learners end up paying the price. And the people most affected are always the same. It's those who can't just go private. It's those who don't have any backup options. It's those who rely on the state because they have no alternative. This is why governance is never abstract. Here's where the real damage happens. In functional systems, poor performance actually leads to removal. Failure will definitely trigger a review, and accountability always restores the trust. But in weak systems, failure is always explained away. The blame is usually being shifted from here to there. Acting appointments are extended indefinitely. No scandal is actually required here. No money needs to disappear. The incompetence alone is enough to destroy institutions if it is protected. Maybe you're wondering, why does this matter during elections, right? This is the part I think elections don't always prepare us for. Voting changes who is in office, but governance depends on who is appointed. And if appointment systems don't change, the same failures will keep on repeating themselves, just obviously under new leadership with new promises and the same outcomes. So the real question for voters isn't only who should lead, as in who should you put in power, but also how will this power be exercised after the votes are counted. Here's a simple voter literacy tool that we can all use. When we hear political promises, we can ask, who is the authority to implement this? Who will be appointed to run it? What happens if they fail, and who holds them accountable and why? If those answers are vague, if they are emotional, if they are defensive, then that's not vision. That is a warning sign. This series isn't about cynicism, it's more about clarity, because democracy doesn't fail only when votes are stolen. It also fails when systems are quietly hollowed out and people stop expecting better. In the next episode, we'll look at who really holds power beyond elections and why understanding that might be the most important civic skill a voter can have.